A human warship descends into the combat, the battlefield fell silent, and humanity stood victorious. The sky above the battlefield was a strange color, like a mix of smoke and blood. Explosions echoed from far away, shaking the ground where human soldiers crouched behind battered walls. Daniel Hayes stood at the edge of a crater, looking out across the ruined landscape. His uniform was dusty and torn, and his face was streaked with sweat and grime. Around him, his soldiers moved quietly, scanning for movement. The alien enemy was clever, fast, and ruthless. Any mistake could mean death. Daniel had seen war before, but nothing like this. The aliens had pushed humanity to the brink on this planet. Entire cities were gone. Entire armies had fallen. And now he had orders to take a small warship, the Ardent, and descend into the heart of the battlefield. It was dangerous, almost impossible, but Daniel did not hesitate. Humans had always survived by thinking, adapting, and refusing to give up. That had brought him this far, and it would carry them through this fight. Lieutenant Sarah Monroe worked in the Ardent's engine room. She was one of the best engineers in the fleet, small but fierce, with hands that moved quickly over panels and wires. She was checking the ship's weapons systems, making sure the lasers were aligned and the shields were strong. She knew that if the Ardent failed, humanity's last hope on this planet could vanish in seconds. Almost ready, she said to herself, tightening a bolt on the energy cannon. Sparks flew, but she kept her focus. She had no room for mistakes. Captain Daniel climbed into the cockpit, where the hum of machinery made the small space feel alive. He looked at the display screens, showing alien ships moving in strange formations above the battlefield. "It's worse than we thought," he said quietly. His pilot, Jason Carter, a young man with steady hands and bright eyes, nodded. "We can handle it," Jason said. Daniel gave a small nod. He had faith in his crew, faith in humanity. The Ardent lifted off from its orbit station, its engines glowing bright against the dark sky. The small warship cut through the clouds like a silver arrow. Down below, explosions painted the land in orange and red, and smoke rose in thick columns. Daniel watched the ground carefully. Human forces were holding, but barely. Alien ships swooped down from the sky, firing beams that turned soldiers and tanks to ash. The battlefield was chaos, but Daniel's mind was calm. He knew that human courage was their greatest weapon. As the Ardent descended, Daniel called to his crew, "Focus on precision. Every shot matters. Remember, we are human. We find ways to survive." Leela Bennett, the weapons officer, adjusted the targeting system. "Enemy ships are fast," she said, her voice steady, "but they can't predict us." Daniel smiled slightly. That was the thing about humans. Thinking differently gave them an edge. The aliens had never seen that before. They underestimated the simple, quiet human determination that could turn the tide of war. Below them, the battlefield was full of destruction. Alien creatures, tall and strange, with limbs that bent the wrong way, marched forward, crushing everything in their path. Human soldiers fired from the ground, but most of them were pinned down. Daniel's heart pounded as he watched a squad of humans trapped behind debris. He wanted to call in support, but he knew the Ardent was their only hope right now. The small warship could move fast, strike where the aliens did not expect, and save the soldiers if they acted carefully. Jason Carter guided the Ardent through the chaos. "Hold steady," he said. Laser fire streaked past the ship, hitting buildings that exploded into fireballs. Daniel gritted his teeth. The aliens were testing them, trying to see how humans would react. But humans did not panic. They adapted. Every movement was deliberate, every shot calculated. The Ardent moved in a zigzag pattern, dodging fire while lining up their own shots. It was dangerous, but it worked. One by one, the alien ships that had been threatening the soldiers on the ground were disabled or forced to retreat. Meanwhile, Sarah Monroe worked quickly in the engine room. Sparks flew around her as she adjusted energy flows to the weapons system. "We're running close to max power," she said. "But I can boost the shields for a short time if we need it." Daniel's voice came through the intercom. "Do it, Sarah. We need every advantage we can get." She nodded, smiling faintly. This was why she loved being an engineer. In moments of danger, she could make a difference, and every small improvement mattered. The Ardent shot forward, firing its cannons at an alien dreadnought, a massive ship that had been terrorizing human forces. The human lasers struck, cutting through the alien hull with precision. Explosions rocked the dreadnought and it released a swarm of smaller ships as if in panic. Daniel saw an opportunity. "Jason, take us around." "Leela, target their engines." Within moments, the smaller ships were destroyed or forced to flee. The dreadnought shuddered and started losing altitude. Humanity had gained a small victory, but Daniel knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would not give up easily. Back on the ground, human soldiers saw the Ardent in the sky. For a moment they froze, unsure what to make of the small warship descending into such danger. Then, seeing it strike at the alien forces with deadly precision, hope surged through them. Humans on the battlefield began to fight back with renewed energy. Tanks moved forward, soldiers charged, and the tide began to turn. Daniel smiled grimly. Courage was contagious and humans had plenty of it. The Ardent continued its descent, weaving through alien fire. Each move was a test of skill, strategy, and courage. Leela Bennett shouted as another alien ship tried to flank them. "They're trying to get behind us," she warned. Daniel responded quickly. "Jason, evasive maneuvers. Sarah, power to the forward cannons. Let's teach them why humans never back down." The ship twisted and turned, dodging lasers and firing back. One by one, alien ships fell, and the battlefield seemed to shift in favor of humanity. Amid the chaos, Daniel thought about what had brought them here. Humans were small in number compared to the alien armies, but they had something the aliens could not understand: creativity, courage, and the ability to adapt in any situation. Every person on that battlefield had a chance to make a difference. Every move mattered. Humans had survived countless wars, countless threats, because they never gave up, and they always learned from their mistakes. That simple truth gave Daniel hope, even in the darkest moments. Sarah Monroe adjusted a panel in the engine room. "Captain, I think we can overload their main energy conduit," she said excitedly. "It might give us a chance to strike the dreadnought directly." Daniel's eyes lit up. "Do it, Sarah." This could change everything. Her hands moved quickly, rerouting energy, while Leela lined up the perfect shot. Jason held the ship steady as the Ardent's cannons fired a concentrated beam. It hit the dreadnought's core, causing a massive explosion that shook the sky. Alien ships scattered in panic. For a brief moment, the battlefield fell almost silent, as if the world itself was catching its breath. Daniel took a deep breath. The battle was far from over, but this was the first sign that humanity could fight back. He looked at his crew, their faces lit by the glow of the engines and explosions. Jason's hands were steady on the controls. Leela's eyes gleamed with determination. Sarah wiped sweat from her brow but smiled. Together, they had done something remarkable. They had reminded humanity why they could never be counted out. The Ardent hovered over the battlefield for a moment, scanning for remaining threats. Human soldiers cheered below, inspired by the sight of a single warship taking on an entire alien fleet. The aliens, confused and shaken, retreated slightly, unsure how to respond. Daniel felt a surge of pride, not just in his crew, but in every human fighting on that planet. Humanity had survived against impossible odds before, and now they were proving it again. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the battlefield, Daniel knew this was only the beginning. The Ardent had shown the aliens that humans were not weak, not easy to destroy. The real battle was still ahead, but humanity had something the aliens could not destroy: hope, courage, and the unshakable will to survive. And as long as humans had those, victory was never out of reach. Daniel turned to his crew. "We did well today, but stay sharp. This battle is far from over. We fight smart, we fight together, and we survive. That's what it means to be human." His words carried weight, and the crew nodded. They were ready for anything. The Ardent glowed in the fading light, a small but mighty symbol of human determination. Down below, the battlefield seemed quieter now, but Daniel knew it was only the calm before the storm. Tomorrow, they would fight again. And tomorrow, humanity would rise, no matter the cost. The stars above shone cold and distant, but below them, humans burned brighter. Not with fire, but with courage. Not with hatred, but with determination. And as the Ardent descended further into the battlefield, Daniel felt a deep certainty. Humanity would survive. Humanity would win. And this war, no matter how terrifying, would not break them. The battlefield fell silent for a moment, the air heavy with tension and expectation. But Daniel's voice cut through the quiet, calm and steady. "Let us show them who we are." And with that, the Ardent dove deeper into the chaos, ready to turn fear into victory. Humanity was here, and they were not afraid. The battlefield was still smoldering from the Ardent's first strike, but there was no time to rest. Captain Daniel Hayes sat in the cockpit, eyes fixed on the display screens. The aliens were regrouping. They were fast, smart, and deadly, but humans had a way of turning desperation into strength. Daniel knew they had to act quickly before the enemy recovered. Jason Carter, the pilot, guided the Ardent with steady hands. "They're moving to encircle us," he said. "If we don't act fast, the humans on the ground could be trapped." Daniel nodded. He had expected this. Alien commanders were aggressive and arrogant. They underestimated humans at every turn. That was humanity's advantage. "Leela," Daniel said, "focus on disabling their command ships. If we take out their leaders, the rest will scatter." Leela Bennett's fingers flew across the control panel. Her eyes were sharp, her movements precise. "Targeting now," she replied. "Weapons ready, fire on your command." The Ardent fired its energy cannons, striking the alien command fleet with precision. Explosions lit the sky like fireworks, and the alien ships began to falter. Smaller fighter ships tried to regroup, but the Ardent moved too quickly, dodging beams and returning fire. Daniel felt a rush of satisfaction. Humanity had survived worse odds, and now they were showing that courage and intelligence could overcome raw power. Below, human soldiers saw the effect of the Ardent strikes. Tanks moved forward, their cannons firing at alien ranks. Soldiers ran across open ground, knowing the warship above them was covering their advance. The humans' morale lifted. Fear turned into determination. They began to fight with a new energy, attacking with courage and precision. Sarah Monroe worked in the engine room, her hands moving quickly over wires and panels. "Captain," she said over the intercom, "if we reroute energy from the shields to the main cannon, we can take out their fleet faster, but it will only last a few minutes." Daniel thought for a moment. Every second counted. "Do it, Sarah. We'll make it count." Power surged through the Ardent's main cannon, and a concentrated beam shot out, striking the largest alien ship. The ship shuddered violently before exploding in a bright flash. Smaller ships tried to flee, but the Ardent was already on them, firing with accuracy no alien could match. Daniel smiled slightly. Humans were small, yes, but their determination and quick thinking gave them an edge no alien technology could match. Leela Bennett shouted from her station. "They're sending reinforcements from the west, about 20 fighters." Daniel looked at the display. The enemy had not expected the Ardent to strike so decisively. They were scrambling. "Jason, evasive maneuvers," Daniel said. "Leela, focus on their engines. Sarah, boost the shields for now." The Ardent twisted and turned, weaving through enemy fire. Beams of energy hit near the ship, sending sparks flying from the hull. The ship's shields glowed as they absorbed the worst of it. Daniel gritted his teeth, concentrating on the path ahead. Every move had to be precise. Every shot had to count. Humans could survive by being clever, and cleverness had kept them alive for centuries. On the battlefield below, humans were taking advantage of the chaos. Soldiers charged at alien positions, tanks rolled forward, and artillery fire struck with precision. Daniel watched the display as human forces began to push back. The aliens were skilled and dangerous, but they could not match the adaptability of humans. Every time they thought they had control, humans found a new way to fight back. Sarah called out again. "Captain, I've found a weak point in their formation. If we hit it, we can break their line completely." Daniel felt a surge of hope. "Show me," he said. The screen displayed a section of alien ships clustered together. "Fire now," Daniel ordered. Leela pressed the control, and the Ardent's cannons unleashed a focused volley. Alien ships were torn apart. The battlefield below erupted with cheers as human forces surged forward, reclaiming ground they had lost earlier. Jason maneuvered the Ardent skillfully, dodging enemy fire while lining up new shots. Daniel could see the fear in the alien commander's eyes. They had never faced an enemy like humans before. The aliens were strong and fast, but humans were unpredictable. They could think in ways no alien could imagine. That unpredictability was a weapon. "Captain," Sarah said, her voice tense but excited, "if we time it right, we can trap their fleet against the mountains. They won't be able to maneuver. That could end this battle." Daniel nodded. "Do it. Every human on this planet is counting on us." The Ardent moved into position, and with a series of precise strikes, the alien fleet was herded into a narrow valley. Below, human soldiers advanced carefully, knowing the aliens were trapped. They fired with precision, striking the remaining enemy forces. Explosions shook the ground as alien ships were destroyed one by one. The battlefield was chaotic, but the humans were gaining the upper hand. Daniel could feel it. This was the moment where humans showed their true strength, not just through weapons but through courage, intelligence, and unity. Leela's fingers moved quickly across the controls. "Another wave incoming," she shouted. Daniel looked at the screen. Alien reinforcements were arriving from orbit. "Jason, take us higher. We need a better angle," Daniel said. The Ardent climbed above the battlefield, moving fast to intercept the new ships. Sarah worked on the engines, pushing the ship to its limits. "Captain, we can overload the main cannon again, but we need to be ready to absorb the feedback," she warned. Daniel took a deep breath. "Do it, Sarah." Humanity doesn't back down, and neither do we. The cannon fired, and a massive beam tore through the alien reinforcements, scattering them across the sky. Humanity's forces below cheered, knowing they were no longer alone in the fight. Daniel watched the battlefield with pride. Humans were small in number, but they were fearless. They used every skill, every idea, every ounce of courage to survive. The aliens had never faced this before. They could not understand how a small group could change the tide of an entire battle. That was the power of humanity. The Ardent moved closer to the trapped alien fleet. Daniel's mind raced with strategy. Every shot had to be perfect. Every maneuver had to count. He called to Leela and Jason. "We hit the center next. Focus all fire there." "Sarah, shields at maximum." The ship shook as lasers from the aliens hit the hull, but the shields held. Then the Ardent's cannons fired, striking the heart of the alien formation. Ships exploded, debris scattered across the battlefield, and the remaining aliens panicked. Human soldiers on the ground pressed their advantage. They moved forward with courage and determination, striking at the scattered alien forces. Daniel smiled slightly. Every human was playing their part. Every action mattered. This was what made humans strong. They could survive, adapt, and fight back when all hope seemed lost. Jason guided the Ardent through the chaos, dodging remaining alien fire while lining up new targets. Daniel's voice was calm and steady. "Stay focused. We can finish this." Humans never give up. Leela's fingers flew across the control panel. They're trying to regroup, but we've trapped them. It's over for them. Daniel allowed himself a small smile. The Ardent had turned the battle. Humanity had shown that even against overwhelming odds they could win. Sarah wiped sweat from her brow. "Captain, we've done it. The aliens are breaking. Their fleet is in chaos." Daniel nodded. He could see it on the displays. The remaining alien ships were fleeing, disorganized and confused. Humans were victorious, at least for now. The battlefield was scarred and destroyed, but hope had returned. Daniel looked at his crew, pride swelling in his chest. Jason, Leela, and Sarah had all done their part. They had fought not just with weapons, but with courage, skill, and determination. They had shown what it meant to be human. The Ardent hovered above the battlefield, a small but mighty symbol of hope. Below, human soldiers cheered as the last alien ships disappeared over the horizon. Tanks rolled forward, firing at the scattered enemies, and soldiers reclaimed the ground that had been lost. Humanity had survived. Humanity had won. And it was not just the weapons or the strategy that had won the day. It was the courage, the ingenuity, and the unshakable will of humans. Daniel took a deep breath, looking at the scarred battlefield. The war was not over, but today, humanity had proven itself. They had stood against impossible odds and prevailed. That was the essence of being human. That was the promise that no matter how strong the enemy, humans would survive, adapt, and rise victorious. The Ardent's engines glowed softly as it hovered above the battlefield. Daniel's voice came over the intercom, calm but strong. "This is a victory, but stay alert. The fight is not over. Humanity will not stop, and neither will we." The crew nodded, their eyes shining with pride and determination. They were ready for whatever came next. For a moment the battlefield was quiet. The smoke hung in the air, the ground was scarred, but humans had won a great victory. They had faced fear and chaos and had turned it into triumph. And as the Ardent moved to support the soldiers on the ground, Daniel knew that humanity's courage and cleverness would continue to shape this war. The stars above were distant and cold, but below them, humans burned brighter than ever. They fought not just to survive, but to win. And in this moment, humanity stood victorious, showing the universe what it meant to be human. The battlefield was still smoking, but the Ardent hovered above, scanning for remaining threats. Captain Daniel Hayes could see the scattered alien forces below, moving in small groups trying to regroup. They were beaten but not defeated. Daniel knew this. The aliens were clever and ruthless, and they would not give up so easily. The real test was still ahead. Jason Carter, the pilot, adjusted the controls. "They're reorganizing," he said. "I think they're trying to bring in another wave from orbit." Daniel nodded, his face set. "Then we need to strike before they get the chance. Layla, target the largest ships. Sarah, get the shields ready. We'll go in fast and hard." Leela Bennett's fingers moved quickly, adjusting targeting systems. Her eyes never left the screen. Weapons online. Targeting the main ships now. Sarah Monroe worked in the engine room, rerouting energy, boosting shields, and preparing the main cannon. Sparks flew around her, but she worked calmly, as if danger made her sharper, not weaker. The Ardent moved forward, diving into the heart of the battlefield. Below, the human soldiers were pushing back the remaining aliens, inspired by the warship's presence. Daniel could see tanks firing, soldiers running with courage, and small squads clearing debris to create safer paths. Humanity had shown the first signs of turning the tide, but Daniel knew the aliens would not surrender. Suddenly, the alien ships from orbit arrived. They were faster, stronger, and more numerous than anything Daniel had seen yet. He could feel the tension in the cockpit, but his voice was calm. "Jason, evade their attack patterns. Layla, focus on engine cores. Sarah, give me maximum power to the main cannon." The Ardent twisted and turned through a storm of beams and explosions. Sparks flew across the hull, but the ship held. Below, humans on the ground were fighting fiercely. Every soldier knew this was a critical moment. Daniel watched as small groups of aliens tried to flank the human forces, but tanks and soldiers were ready. They fired with precision, striking every enemy that moved. Humanity's ingenuity was on full display. They had fewer numbers, but they used every advantage the battlefield offered. Leela shouted over the intercom, "Captain, the main alien fleet is converging on us. We might get surrounded." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Then we break them before they can. Jason, take us higher. We'll hit them from above where they don't expect it. Sarah, charge the main cannon. This is our chance." The Ardent climbed above the battlefield, its engines glowing bright. From this height, Daniel could see the full scope of the enemy's formation. They were clever trying to trap the humans on the ground, but Daniel had seen their plan. He smiled slightly. Humans had survived worse. Humans had overcome impossible odds, and humans were about to prove it again. "Fire!" Daniel shouted. Leela pressed the control. The Ardent's main cannon released a concentrated beam of energy that cut through the largest alien ship. It exploded violently, sending debris flying in every direction. Smaller alien ships tried to escape, but the Ardent was faster. Jason twisted and turned, dodging attacks while lining up new targets. Humanity's forces below cheered, knowing help was coming from above. Sarah Monroe's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, I can reroute energy to the secondary cannons. We can strike multiple targets at once, but shields will weaken." Daniel thought quickly. "Do it, Sarah. We take risks because humans survive by daring to act." The secondary cannons fired, striking clusters of alien ships. Explosions erupted across the battlefield. The aliens were thrown into chaos, unsure where the next attack would come from. Human soldiers pressed their advantage. They moved quickly, taking advantage of the confusion. Tanks rolled forward, firing on alien formations. Soldiers ran through debris, throwing grenades and using clever tactics to strike the enemy. Every move was calculated. Every action mattered. Daniel watched with pride. Humanity had a way of turning fear into strength, and the battlefield below showed it clearly. Suddenly, one of the alien command ships fired a massive beam at the Ardent. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew across the cockpit. Jason gritted his teeth. "We're taking heavy fire." Daniel's voice was calm. "Evasive maneuvers. Layla, fire on their energy core. Sarah, boost shields now." The Ardent twisted, dodging the beam while weapons struck back. Another explosion rocked the enemy fleet. The command ship shuddered and then went silent. Below, human soldiers cheered. The alien forces were losing coordination. They were strong, but they could not match human courage and intelligence. Daniel knew it. The aliens had superior numbers, but humans had the ability to adapt, to think quickly, and to act in ways no alien could predict. That made humans dangerous, unstoppable, and victorious. Leela shouted again. "More ships incoming from the north, about 15 fighters." Daniel looked at the screen. He smiled faintly. "Then we meet them head-on. Jason, line us up for a straight shot. Sarah, all power to weapons. It's time to show them what humans can do." The Ardent moved with speed and precision. The alien fighters approached, confident they could overpower the humans. But the Ardent was faster, smarter. Beams from the cannons tore through the incoming ships. Explosions lit the sky, and smaller ships scattered in panic. Daniel's heart pounded, but his mind was calm. This was humanity's moment. They had faced impossible odds before. They would face them again, and they would survive. On the ground, humans were advancing with renewed energy. Soldiers ran forward, tanks fired relentlessly, and artillery struck alien positions with accuracy. Every human was playing their part. Every action mattered. The battlefield was chaotic, but humans were winning. The aliens could not anticipate human thinking. They could not predict human courage. That unpredictability was humanity's greatest weapon. Sarah's hands moved quickly over the controls in the engine room. "Captain, I can create a concentrated blast that might take out their remaining fighters, but it will drain the main cannon temporarily." Daniel nodded. "Do it, Sarah." "We take the risk because humans never stop fighting." The blast fired, striking the alien fighters in a single, precise strike. Ships exploded, falling from the sky like shooting stars. The battlefield below erupted with cheers. Humanity was on the rise. Jason guided the Ardent through the chaos, dodging remaining beams and debris. Daniel's eyes were sharp. He could see the last alien ships trying to escape, scattered and confused. "We've trapped them," Daniel said calmly. "Now we finish this." Leela's fingers flew over the controls, targeting the remaining ships. Explosions followed, and one by one, the alien ships fell. The battlefield was finally quiet, except for the sounds of humans celebrating their small victories. Human soldiers looked up at the Ardent with awe. The small warship had turned the tide of the battle. It had shown humans that even when outnumbered and outgunned, they could survive. They could win. The aliens had never faced this before. They could not understand human determination, courage, or intelligence. That made humans unstoppable. Daniel took a deep breath. The Ardent hovered above the battlefield, engines glowing softly. The humans below cheered. Tanks rolled forward, soldiers reclaimed territory, and the remaining alien forces fled. Daniel felt pride, not just for his crew, but for every human on that battlefield. Every soldier, every pilot, every engineer had played a role. Together, they had turned fear into victory. Sarah wiped sweat from her brow, smiling faintly. "Captain, we've done it. The enemy is in retreat." Daniel nodded, looking at the displays. The aliens were scattered, disorganized, and confused. The battlefield was scarred and destroyed, but humanity had proven something important. Humans were small in number, but their courage, skill, and intelligence made them strong beyond measure. Jason leaned back in the cockpit. "We're alive," he said simply. Daniel smiled. "Yes, Jason, and we're winning." Leela looked at the remaining alien ships on the screen. "They're not coming back, at least not for now." Daniel nodded. This was just one battle, but it was an important one. Humans had survived against impossible odds. They had shown the universe that courage and intelligence were as powerful as weapons. Below, human soldiers celebrated, but they remained alert. Every person knew this war was far from over. Daniel looked at the horizon. Smoke rose from the battlefield, the ground was torn and broken, but humans had won a great victory. They had survived. They had fought with courage. They had proven that even against the strongest enemy, humanity could rise. The stars above were distant and cold, but the humans below burned brightly. Their courage, their intelligence, and their will to survive shone like fire. And as the Ardent hovered over the battlefield, Daniel knew this was only the beginning. Humans would fight again. Humans would survive again, and humans would continue to show the universe what it meant to be human. Daniel turned to his crew. "We've done well today, but we stay alert. The aliens will regroup. The fight is not over. Humanity never gives up." His words were steady, calm, and full of conviction. The crew nodded. They were ready. Ready to face whatever came next. Ready to continue proving that humans were strong, clever, and unstoppable. The battlefield was quiet for a moment. The smoke hung in the air. The ground was broken, but humanity had won. Humans had faced fear and chaos, and they had turned it into triumph. The Ardent glowed in the dim light, a symbol of hope, courage, and victory. And Daniel knew that no matter how strong the enemy, humans would survive, adapt, and rise victorious again. The battlefield was quiet for a moment, but Daniel Hayes knew it was only temporary. The alien forces were scattered, but they were still dangerous. Even a small group could strike unexpectedly, and humans could not let their guard down. The Ardent hovered above the ground, engines glowing softly, scanning for movement. Every crew member was tense but focused, ready for the next challenge. Jason Carter, the pilot, adjusted the controls. "Captain, the remaining alien ships are retreating toward the mountains. They might be trying to regroup." Daniel nodded. He had expected this. The aliens were clever, but humans were faster in thought and action. "Then we follow. We cannot let them escape and rebuild. Leela, target their engines. Sarah, keep shields at maximum. We finish this fight today." Leela Bennett's fingers moved quickly, adjusting targeting systems. Engines locked. Ready to fire. Sarah Monroe worked in the engine room, rerouting power to the weapon systems. Sparks flew around her, but she stayed calm. "Shields are strong, Captain. Weapons ready." Daniel gave a small nod. He trusted his crew. Humans survived not just because of strength, but because they worked together, smart and precise. The Ardent descended toward the mountains. Below, human soldiers moved quickly, taking advantage of the aliens' disorganized retreat. Tanks rolled forward, artillery fired at enemy positions, and soldiers ran through debris, reclaiming the ground lost in earlier battles. Daniel watched the displays carefully. Every move of the Ardent had to protect humans below and strike the remaining alien forces. Every action mattered. Suddenly, an alien ship fired a massive beam at the Ardent. The ship shook violently. Jason gritted his teeth, twisting the controls to dodge. "They're desperate," Daniel said calmly. "Desperate enemies are dangerous, but we survive because we act smart." Leela fired the main cannon, striking the alien ship directly. It exploded, falling to the ground below. The remaining ships scattered in panic. Humanity's forces cheered. The aliens were losing control. Sarah's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, I can focus all power to the main cannon for a final strike, but shields will drop temporarily." Daniel thought quickly. Every second counted. "Do it, Sarah. This is our chance to finish them." The main cannon charged, glowing brighter and brighter. Leela aimed carefully at the heart of the remaining alien fleet. Jason held the Ardent steady despite the shaking hull. The beam fired, cutting through the largest alien ship and spreading to smaller ships nearby. Explosions lit the battlefield like fireworks. Alien ships were destroyed or forced to retreat. Below, human soldiers surged forward, striking the remaining enemy positions. Tanks fired, soldiers threw grenades, and small squads cleared the last pockets of resistance. Humanity was winning, not just through weapons, but through courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Daniel watched the battlefield, feeling pride. Humans were small in number, but their determination and cleverness made them strong. Every soldier on the ground, every crew member in the Ardent was playing a part. Humanity's strength was in its people, their courage, and their ability to adapt. The aliens had never faced this before. They could not predict human thinking, and that made humans unstoppable. Leela shouted from her station, "More ships are coming from the north. About 10 fighters." Daniel looked at the display. The aliens had not given up yet, but they were weak. "Jason, line us up for a straight attack. Sarah, shields on full. We finish this now." The Ardent moved with speed and precision, dodging enemy beams and firing at the incoming ships. Explosions filled the sky. Alien ships fell one by one. Below, human soldiers pressed their advantage. Every step they took was careful, every shot precise. They used the terrain, debris, and clever tactics to strike the aliens. Daniel watched, feeling proud. Humans had survived countless battles, and they would survive this one too. Courage, intelligence, and determination were their greatest weapons. The aliens could not match that. Sarah adjusted the engine flow, pushing the Ardent to its limits. "Captain, we can do one last concentrated strike on their remaining command ship, but the recoil will shake the ship badly." Daniel nodded. "Do it, Sarah. Humans do not back down, and neither do we." The main cannon charged again, glowing brightly. Leela aimed carefully at the alien command ship. Jason held the Ardent steady despite shaking and sparks flying across the cockpit. The beam fired, striking the alien command ship directly. The ship exploded in a massive fireball, sending debris across the battlefield. The remaining alien forces were thrown into chaos. Panic spread among them. They had no leaders, no coordination. Humanity had won. Below, human soldiers cheered, tanks fired, and artillery struck the last enemy positions. Every alien ship left was fleeing or destroyed. Daniel felt pride in his chest. The Ardent had turned the tide of the battle. Humans had survived against overwhelming odds, using courage, intelligence, and teamwork. The aliens could not understand human determination. They could not predict human strategy. And that was why humans won. Jason adjusted the Ardent's course, scanning for any remaining threats. "Captain, all enemy ships are retreating. The battlefield is clear." Daniel nodded, letting out a quiet breath. It was not completely over, but the fight was won. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. Every soldier on the ground, every crew member in the Ardent had contributed to this victory. Leela smiled faintly. "They won't be back for a while. We've beaten them." Daniel looked at the displays, seeing human soldiers advancing safely across the battlefield. Today, humanity showed its strength. We fight smart, we fight together, and we survive. Sarah wiped sweat from her brow, smiling faintly. "Captain, we've done something amazing. The humans on the ground, they're safe now." Daniel nodded. "Yes, Sarah, and it is because of courage and determination, not just weapons." The human soldiers on the ground were cheering, reclaiming territory and helping each other. They were tired, scarred, and wounded, but alive. Tanks rolled forward, soldiers cleared debris, and artillery fire struck remaining enemy positions. Humanity had survived against an enemy far stronger and more numerous. And the Ardent had been the symbol of hope, guiding them to victory. Daniel looked at the horizon where smoke and debris still lingered. The battlefield was scarred, but humans had triumphed. They had survived fear, chaos, and overwhelming odds. They had turned courage and intelligence into weapons stronger than any alien fleet. That was the essence of being human. That was the strength that would carry them into future battles. Jason Carter leaned back slightly. "We're alive. We did it," Daniel smiled. "Yes, Jason. And humans will continue to survive, no matter the enemy." Leela and Sarah nodded, proud and relieved. The Ardent glowed softly above the battlefield, a small but mighty symbol of human courage and determination. The aliens were retreating. Their forces were scattered. Humans had reclaimed the battlefield. But Daniel knew this was only the beginning. Wars were not won in a single day. But humanity had shown something important. Even when outnumbered, even when outgunned, humans could survive and win. Every soldier, every crew member, every human on that battlefield had played a part. The stars above shone cold and distant, but below, humans burned bright with courage and determination. Daniel turned to his crew. "We've won this battle, but stay alert. Humanity never stops. The aliens will regroup, but we will be ready. Humans survive, humans adapt, and humans win." The crew nodded, ready for whatever came next. They were human, and that made them unstoppable. The battlefield was quiet at last. Smoke rose from the ground, tanks and soldiers moved carefully, and the remaining aliens were fleeing. But humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. And the Ardent glowed above them, a symbol of hope, courage, and victory. Daniel knew that this was only the beginning. Humans would rise again, stronger, smarter, and braver. Below, soldiers helped each other, checked their wounded, and prepared for the next challenge. Every human knew that today they had done something incredible. They had fought against overwhelming odds and survived. They had shown the universe what it meant to be human, fearless, clever, and unstoppable. Daniel looked at his crew. "We did well today. Humans survive because of courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Remember that. Humanity is strong, and we will face whatever comes next." His words were calm but filled with power. The crew nodded. They were ready. Humans were ready. The Ardent hovered above the battlefield, engines glowing softly, scanning for any last threats. Below, humans reclaimed territory, helped each other, and celebrated their hard-won victory. The aliens were retreating, broken and confused, but humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. And Daniel knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, humans would rise, adapt, and win again. The stars above were distant and cold, but below, humans burned bright. They fought with courage, thought with intelligence, and acted with determination. And as the Ardent descended to support the soldiers on the ground, Daniel knew that humanity would continue to rise, proving again and again that they were unstoppable. The battlefield was quiet now, but Daniel Hayes knew it was the calm before the next storm. The alien forces were scattered and broken, but some ships still fled across the horizon. The humans on the ground were exhausted but alive, tanks rolling slowly over the shattered terrain, soldiers moving carefully among the smoke and debris. Daniel looked out from the Ardent, proud of what they had achieved. Humanity had survived, but this final stage of the battle would solidify their victory. Jason Carter adjusted the controls, keeping the Ardent steady above the battlefield. "Captain, the remaining alien ships are trying to escape into the mountains. If we let them go, they could regroup and attack again." Daniel nodded. "Then we follow, we finish this now. Leela, target their engines. Sarah, keep shields at maximum. Every shot counts." Leela Bennett's fingers moved quickly over the control panel, her eyes focused on the distant ships. Engines locked, ready to fire. Sarah Monroe adjusted energy flows, rerouting power to weapon systems while keeping shields strong. Sparks flew across her workstation, but she did not pause. Humans survived because they acted decisively, and every second now mattered. The Ardent moved forward, diving toward the mountains. Below, human soldiers were reclaiming territory. Tanks fired on scattered alien units, soldiers ran to secure key positions, and artillery struck from a distance. Every human was playing a part. Daniel could see it clearly on the display screens. This was a moment that required courage, teamwork, and intelligence. Humanity had all three in abundance. Suddenly, one of the remaining alien command ships fired a massive energy beam at the Ardent. The ship shook violently, sparks flying across the cockpit. Jason gritted his teeth. "They're desperate, Captain." Daniel's voice was calm. "Desperate enemies are dangerous, but humans survive because we think, adapt, and act fast. Evasive maneuvers, Jason. Leela, fire on their energy core. Sarah, boost shields immediately." The Ardent twisted through the beams, dodging fire while returning shots with precision. Leela's weapon struck the alien ship's core and it exploded, falling into the mountains below. The remaining alien ships scattered further, panicking. Below, human soldiers cheered, seeing their enemy falter. The tide of the battle had turned decisively in humanity's favor. Sarah's voice came over the intercom, calm but excited. "Captain, I can focus all energy into a single concentrated blast that could destroy the last alien ship cluster, but it will drain shields completely for a short time." Daniel thought for a moment, then nodded. "Do it, Sarah. Humans survive because we dare to act, take the risk." The main cannon glowed brighter and brighter, the Ardent's hull shaking slightly under the strain. Leela aimed carefully at the last cluster of alien ships. Jason held the ship steady, dodging minor attacks while lining up the perfect shot. The cannon fired, releasing a massive beam of energy that struck the alien ships in a single, devastating strike. Explosions erupted across the battlefield, sending debris flying in all directions. The remaining alien forces fell apart. Chaos and panic spread among them. Humanity had won. Below, human soldiers surged forward. Tanks rolled over the shattered ground, firing on any remaining enemies. Soldiers ran across debris, throwing grenades and using clever tactics to take down alien units. Every move mattered. Every action counted. Daniel watched the displays, feeling a deep sense of pride. Humans were small in number, but their courage and intelligence made them unstoppable. Jason guided the Ardent carefully through the chaos. "Captain, all enemy ships are fleeing or destroyed. The battlefield is clear." Daniel allowed himself a small, quiet smile. "Today humanity has proven itself. We survive, we fight, and we win." Leela nodded, her eyes bright. "We've done it. They won't regroup for a while." Sarah wiped sweat from her brow, smiling faintly. "Captain, the humans on the ground, they're safe. The war is ours for now." Daniel looked at the battlefield below. The humans were celebrating, helping each other, checking the wounded and reclaiming territory. Tanks moved carefully, artillery fired at remaining pockets of alien resistance, and soldiers cleared debris. Humanity had survived against an enemy far stronger and more numerous. They had turned courage, intelligence, and teamwork into a weapon stronger than any alien fleet. "Captain," Leela said, her voice steady, "they won't attack again for now." "The battlefield is secure," Daniel nodded, looking at his crew. "We've done well. Today humanity survived against impossible odds. Remember this. Humans fight smart, we fight together, and we survive. That is what makes us strong." The Ardent hovered above the battlefield, engines glowing softly. Below, soldiers cheered and reclaimed their positions. Humanity had proven its strength. The aliens had never expected humans to fight with such determination, intelligence, and courage. They had underestimated a small species that refused to give up. That mistake had cost them the battle. Jason leaned back in the cockpit. "We did it, Captain. Humans won." Daniel smiled. "Yes, Jason, and this is just the beginning. Humanity will continue to rise, fight, and survive. No matter the enemy, no matter the odds, humans will endure." Leela and Sarah nodded, proud and relieved. The Ardent glowed brightly above the battlefield, a small but mighty symbol of hope and courage. Below, human soldiers helped each other, checked the wounded, and prepared for the next challenge. They were tired, scarred, and battered, but alive. They had survived fear, chaos, and overwhelming odds. Humanity had triumphed. And the Ardent had been the guiding force, a beacon of courage and skill. Daniel looked at the horizon where smoke and debris still lingered. The battlefield was scarred and destroyed, but humans had proven something important. They could survive anything. They could adapt to any situation. And they could rise victorious against the strongest enemy. That was the essence of being human. That was the strength that would carry them into future battles. Jason adjusted the controls again. "Captain, all enemy forces have retreated beyond the mountains. The battlefield is secure." Daniel nodded. "Good. Humanity has survived another challenge, but we stay ready. We never stop. The enemy will regroup, but we will be ready. Humans survive, humans adapt, and humans win." The soldiers on the ground were moving carefully, helping each other and reclaiming territory. Tanks rolled forward, artillery struck the last enemy positions, and soldiers cheered. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. And every human on that battlefield had played a part. Courage, intelligence, and teamwork had won the day. Sarah wiped sweat from her brow, her face glowing with pride. "Captain, the humans are safe. The aliens are gone for now. We did it." Daniel nodded. "Yes, Sarah. And we will continue to do it every time. Humans are strong because we never give up. That is what makes us human." The Ardent glowed softly above the battlefield, scanning for any last threats. The ground was scarred, smoke rose into the sky, and human soldiers moved carefully among the debris. Tanks rolled forward, artillery fired at the last remaining alien units, and soldiers celebrated their victory. Humanity had survived against overwhelming odds. They had proven their strength. Daniel turned to his crew. "We've done well. Humans survive because we are brave, clever, and united. Remember this. Today we showed the universe that humans cannot be defeated easily. We rise, we adapt, and we win. That is who we are." The crew nodded, ready for whatever came next. They were human, and that made them unstoppable. Below, human soldiers continued to celebrate, helping each other and reclaiming their positions. The remaining aliens were gone, scattered and broken. Humanity had survived fear, chaos, and overwhelming odds. They had triumphed, and the Ardent had been a symbol of hope, courage, and skill throughout the battle. Daniel looked out at the battlefield one last time. Smoke rose from the ground, tanks and soldiers moved carefully, and the horizon was streaked with fire from the last explosions. Humanity had survived against impossible odds. They had proven their strength, courage, and intelligence. The aliens had underestimated humans, and that mistake had cost them the battle. Jason leaned back, relaxing slightly. "Captain, we did it. The humans won. The battlefield is clear." Daniel smiled, feeling pride in his chest. "Yes, Jason, humanity has won today. But we stay ready. Humans survive, humans fight, and humans win. Always." Leela and Sarah nodded, proud and relieved. The Ardent glowed above the battlefield, a symbol of hope, courage, and determination. The soldiers on the ground moved carefully, helping each other and reclaiming territory. Tanks rolled forward, artillery fired at remaining enemy positions, and soldiers celebrated their victory. Humanity had survived against overwhelming odds. They had proven that courage, intelligence, and teamwork were stronger than any enemy. Daniel looked at the horizon one last time. The battlefield was scarred, smoke still hung in the air, but humans had triumphed. They had survived fear, chaos, and destruction. They had turned courage and intelligence into weapons stronger than any alien fleet. That was the essence of being human. That was the strength that would carry them into future battles. The Ardent hovered above the battlefield, engines glowing softly, scanning for any last threats. Below, humans reclaimed their positions, helped each other, and celebrated their victory. The aliens were gone, scattered, and broken. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. And Daniel knew that no matter what came next, humans would rise, adapt, and win again. The stars above were distant and cold, but below, humans burned bright. Courage, intelligence, and determination shone in every human on the battlefield. And as the Ardent descended to support them one last time, Daniel felt a deep certainty. Humanity would continue to rise, fight, and survive. Humanity would always stand victorious.